And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live updates on this 4th day of May 2021. Well, that's right. Yes, time is passing by and we're already onto the 4th day of May. And of course, we know that this was a long weekend and there was lots that took place in the long weekend. Well, of course, we had the Labour Day March, which is always on the first Saturday of May in Queensland. Other states have other dates, as reported yesterday or day before yesterday's segment. We'll show you a little bit of glimpse of that, and of course we will look at the COVID crisis in India, and also we'll bring to you the glimpses of the very successful candlelight vigil which was held in Brisbane in front of King George's Square with the support of many community organisations. I was appointed to lead the event as the coordinator, but it was organized by all Indian associations. So we'll bring to you some glimpses of that. The full version of that we will probably show on another segment on one day, but let's get today's section on the way. First of all, let's take a very quick look at what's happening with the weather for today. Let's welcome to Tilraj with that.
Good morning everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 26 degree. Brisbane area is mostly sunny with light winds. There are medium chance of showers this evening and there is a chance of thunderstorm this evening. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 10 past 2 in the afternoon and UV index is predicted to reach 5, that is moderate. Till tomorrow, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
And thank you very much for that update, Dilraj. And as we know that that yesterday was the Labour Day March, and here's a glimpse from our office to see how the march took place and how it paraded along. You can see the numbers. There's lots of people who did turn up for that. And this is the actual glimpse from our studio looking outside. This is what you see in the scene behind me. And as you can see that people came out in large numbers to take part in the parade. Of course, we know the Premier and the others were in Buckholden yesterday for the parade there as well. Right now, let's go to the next news, where an Indigenous community wants to know where their royalty money is going.
I'm on my way to a remote part of the country to meet a community in crisis. 300 kilometres north of Adelaide, the city of Port Augusta is known as the crossroads of Australia due to its crucial road and rail links. It's also the home of the Adnyamathanha people. About 3,000 receive millions of dollars in royalties each year from mining on their ancestral lands. But some say they're seeing little of it. These women are too scared to speak up alone, so they're meeting as a group. You don't know where the money's going?
Yeah. Like you see all these dollar signs. Where?
And I see people driving around flash cars, houses they got, children's got a house.
Leonie Brady asked for help when she was diagnosed with cancer.
I was a cancer patient. 2016, asked for help, and they said they just didn't have any money to help. My grandchild was sent over to Sydney. We asked for help for him for leukemia. They never gave him nothing, a little baby. We felt so let down.
Being a young Adnyamatna woman, I want to be treated equally. I want to be treated fair.
I feel empowered now with yous here, that we can talk to yous. You know, we never had this opportunity.
Like thousands of other Indigenous communities across the country, Adnyamatna set up their own corporation called ATLA to handle mining royalties, grants and other business interests. ATLA has a complex structure with non-profit trusts and charities, but its purpose is clear: to provide services and economic development and prevent poverty.
They failed the Adnyamatna people.
Elder Tiger Mackenzie believes there's been decades of mismanagement.
They failed their responsibility around supporting the rest of the Adnyamatna people, majority of them I'll say.
ATLA is and has been a very, very successful organisation.
And that is a very, very big challenge, the financial management of the royalties. And even though setting up that corporation that they have, they still don't know quite where it is, and that it's been mismanaged. So it will be also looked into. Well, right now, the growing concern is this: the new laws that have come into place about the travel restrictions from India. People argue that once a citizen of Australia, you are a citizen of Australia, and there are rights that you have, and right of entry is one of those. So is this move justified on part of the government? They say it is a directive from the health department and the chief medical officer, and of course their argument is that this is a temporary measure until things are under control to safeguard the country, meaning Australia, from further infections, and if large numbers came in, our system might not be able to cope up with the quarantine facilities that we have. Let's take a look at a few of the reports coming up.
This is a serious and evolving situation. The travel advice has been upgraded to reconsider all travel to China.
In the early days of the pandemic, as COVID was starting to spread rapidly through China, Australia brought in what were then considered sweeping travel bans. But there were exceptions.
To substantially reduce the volume of travellers coming from mainland China, with the exception of Australian citizens, permanent residents and their immediate family, I would hope that we can get as many people home, and if not all of them, by Christmas.
That ambition proved wildly elusive. Fast forward to around midnight on Friday night, when Health Minister Greg Hunt announced an emergency declaration under the Biosecurity Act 2015 that imposes a very new kind of border control. Travellers from India are banned, including Australian citizens.
It is a significant shift, and obviously the government's taking it very seriously as well. The real question that underlies it is the right of an Australian citizen to enter the country an absolute right upon which there can be no restrictions, or is it the case that the government can impose reasonable restrictions if they have good reason to do so?
National Cabinet had met on Friday, and 7:30 understands that the ban was raised by the Prime Minister, but was not a decision of National Cabinet. The decision was subsequently taken by the federal government. Unusually, Scott Morrison did not appear for his normal post-National Cabinet press conference. There was just a press statement from the PM, leaving it to Greg Hunt, who hadn't been in the meeting, to face the cameras. And there was no reference to the looming ban.
Usually the Prime Minister is the one who stands up when there's a National Cabinet meeting. Where is the Prime Minister, and why isn't he doing that?
I think the PM has spoken on many days in the last week. Today I think National Cabinet was more in review than decision-making mode.
Which brings us to the ongoing questions about the capacity of the quarantine system, who should run it, whether we need dedicated facilities, and the appropriateness of hotel quarantine, all issues which remain contentious. Figures provided to 7:30 by the Department of Health reveal 47 cases of COVID, or 1 in 7 passengers, had been identified on just 2 flights from India over 2 days coming into Howard Springs in mid-April, with a further 84 passengers from those 2 flights identified as close contacts. All in all, too many people to manage effectively. The government is...
So, that's that argument there. But right now, let's see what Dr. Swan describes, of this ban.
What do you make of the India travel ban?
I think that the punitive element to it is appalling, and it just is unnecessary. There are logistical issues here, but we've touted the great success of hotel quarantine. But in fact, when it's stressed, it doesn't actually perform very well. If you actually look at the tens of thousands of people who've come back relative to the leaks, that's a very low figure, but relative to the number of infections, it's not that low. So, there's contradiction going on. The Commonwealth saying, well, we don't need alternate facilities, yet they're not confident in the facilities that they've got. We could actually be bringing back people still, but the rate of infection in India is enormous. It's I just got figures from Tony Blakely at the University of Melbourne. It's an extraordinary, per day, 1,000 people per 100,000 of the population. In other words, at the moment, it's almost 1% of the population is being infected every day. That's 10 times the peak in the United Kingdom, for example. So it just beggars the imagination. Now, that's not evenly spread. It is more in the disadvantaged population. But it does mean that a large percentage of people coming back, well, first of all, it means that people are trapped there in a serious situation where their lives could be at stake. And we do have an obligation to bring them back and to accelerate some sort of solution, because India won't be the last country to face this. It's just an appalling situation. And we've spent months talking about actually immunising people overseas. We haven't done that. And now it's getting too late for Australians and permanent residents in India.
And just on that, Norman, we've heard a lot about the India strain, this new so-called double mutant strain. Is that any more cause for concern than the other strains that we've seen?
Probably not from the current evidence. It's still unclear. Although it almost certainly is more contagious and it's spread to other countries, but it doesn't seem to be. I don't think they're worried so much that it's vaccine resistant. So I don't think this is. I don't think they've yet to nominate this as a variant of concern. Still a variant of interest. I mean, but there are thousands of variants in India, and others could emerge because as people get immunized, as the virus circulates and multiplies to this extraordinary extent, new mutants are being thrown off all the time.
Okay, let's go to the...
So that's a point, that this is the new variant, and there are talks that, we might have to live with this now and deal with it on an ongoing basis as we do with other viruses, and of course we might have to keep having vaccines further down the track. Who knows? So what and how it could completely unfolds. But as we know that as of today, all over 50s are eligible to get the vaccination. So if you have the chance, please go ahead and do so. Well, right now when we look at this ban that's been put on, people are suggesting, and there have been calls, that it is a racist move. Is it or is it not?
Citizenship comes with responsibilities.
Relying on all Australians to be at their best.
In return, citizens have expectations of their own.
Australians would not only be surprised but startled to realise the limitations on their citizenship rights.
9,000 Australians stranded in India are learning those limits, facing 5 years jail and big fines if they attempt to leave the COVID-racked country for safety in Australia.
An agonising decision.
Maybe so, but is it legal?
I think that there are serious questions about the lawfulness of these measures.
People have the right to return to their own country.
Australian citizens and permanent residents have never before been prevented from entering their country. The Health Minister exercising extraordinary powers under the Biosecurity Act to determine any requirement he believes necessary to deal with a human biosecurity emergency.
And made with a heavy heart but without hesitation.
entry to Australia criminalised for anyone who has been in India in the previous fortnight.
I didn't advise anything in relation to fines or any of those other matters. That is the law.
The Chief Medical Officer noting Australians shut out would be at risk of serious illness without access to healthcare, being stranded in a transit country, or in a worst-case scenario, death. Adding these risks would be mitigated by making the ban temporary.
Locking people out and then locking them up if they do try to return is one that requires a justification.
Criticism not just from the left.
I think in part racism as well as fear and ignorance.
I think we should be doing more to help Aussies come home, not threatening with them jail.
We're only talking about a 2-week period at the moment.
The government insists it's acting to avoid a third wave of infections, but while the politics of border closures have worked for the premiers of late, locking out citizens seeking safety is surely inviting legal challenge.
Well, yes, it is. And right now, because it is a temporary measure, and that's the part that many people fail to mention or fail to realize, that it is a temporary measure until the situation is under control. And I say that under control and then reviewed. So it's not automatic that on that day the ban will be lifted. It will be reviewed to see what the situation is, what sort of control measures have been put in place, and how we are going. So that's it. Right now we've got one of our viewers, Badlani Rajkumar, who is from India, also is thanking Australian government for all the contributions and the help that Australians have made to India. And I'd like to inform you all that last night at our vigil we raised $10,000, meaning that Brisbane City Council has pledged $10,000 to the disaster relief fund. So that is wonderful news, and it's with sincere thanks and gratitude to our Lord Mayor and all the councillors. But that came about as part of the vigil, which we will look at right after this segment when we go to our local segment. Right now, let's go to India and let's take a look at what's actually happening on the streets. As we know, India is a land of festivals. So many festivals that take place, and elections, and life must go on despite lockdown, but there is calls for India to go into a lockdown.
Celebrations amid a calamity. Voters triumphant after the government lost key election battles despite huge campaign rallies during the current COVID crisis.
We are happy. Even if we get infected with coronavirus, we don't care. We will celebrate.
In the COVID wards, there's nothing to celebrate. Delhi has, for a second straight day, recorded more than 400 deaths, while the virus ravages even the most remote pockets of the country.
My sister passed away due to a lack of oxygen. My brother's condition is very bad. No one's telling us. Where can we get oxygen?
The fact is that people are gasping for oxygen. Last week it was a 4 to 5-fold demand increase, and now it's almost a 6-fold demand increase.
More and more cities and states are imposing local lockdowns. A central government task force has been pushing hard for a national one, but some experts are unconvinced.
Those micro or even mini lockdowns are the need of the hour. It's not the entire country which is seeing the surge.
Many are pinning their hopes on a vaccine, but the program is stalled. When India's vaccine rollout first began, the ABC visited the family of Dr. Farah Hussain. Her elderly parents have since contracted the virus, but suffered relatively minor symptoms. Dr. Hussain says that's because they both received 2 jabs of AstraZeneca.
The fact that it is preventing the onset of a severe illness is something which is a ray of hope in these sordid and very difficult and despairing times.
This ray of hope has only been made available to a small and shrinking chunk of India's population, less than 2%. Supplies are dwindling, and even if production is scaled up and vaccines are imported, vaccinating 900 million adults will be a daunting task. James Oden, ABC News, Delhi.
So there you are, that's the news from Delhi. And Badani, yes, $10,000 has been placed by Brisbane City Council to go to the disaster relief fund. Right now, let's take a quick commercial break.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established,
Trusted and respected agency in its trade area, Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
Well, right now in the second part, we'll go and look at the candlelight visual and bring to you some glimpses of last night. As we know that it was a joint effort by all the communities and business houses of the Indian diaspora here in Brisbane, and I was bestowed the duty or the role of being the coordinator of putting it together with all the organizations, and so, and in doing so I had to discharge my duty diligently and in an impartial manner, so that all the organizations were given equal opportunity to take part in that. And it was good to see that our event got coverage even in Channel 7.
And Erin, there's a vigil for India underway at King George Square.
Max, there are 100,000 people of Indian descent in Queensland. They say this is their home, but their hearts right now are with India, and their hearts are breaking as they watch as the world's second most populated country confronts a crisis which, despite everything we've seen over the past 18 months, is still hard to believe. Tonight, they are praying for the people of India, but also for the Australian government to reverse that travel ban. They warn that every hour their loved ones spend back in India, they are more at risk.
So, the attention that was not only from the Channel 7, there were many other media outlets there as well, and I did a live crossover to ABC, and my speech and other things were featured in the ABC this morning as well, and of course the local Punjabi channel Indus TV also covered the event. Let's take a quick look.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਨਮਸਕਾਰ ਤੇ ਆਦਾਬ। ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਹਰਜਿੰਦ ਕੌਰ ਮੰਗੜ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਇੰਡੋਸ ਟੀਵੀ। ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ। ਕਰੋਨਾ ਵਾਇਰਸ ਦੀ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਨਾਲ ਪੂਰਾ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਦੁਖੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਜਿਹੀ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਬਣਿਆ ਕਿ ਹਰ ਰੋਜ਼ 3.5 ਲੱਖ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੇਸ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ 117 ਮੌਤਾਂ ਪਰ ਆਵਰਸ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਬਾਹਰਲੇ ਮੁਲਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੈਠੇ ਲੋਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਰਦ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਬਾਹਰਲੇ ਮੁਲਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਏ ਆ। ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਸਾਡਾ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾ, ਮਾਂ ਬਾਪ ਤਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਸਾਡਾ ਕੋਈ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇਦਾਰ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਹੈ। ਜਿਸ ਤਨ ਲੱਗੀ ਸੋਈ ਤਨ ਜਾਣੇ। ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਰੋਨਾ ਵਾਇਰਸ ਨਾਲ ਮੌਤ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਕਰੋਨਾ ਵਾਇਰਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਪੀੜਤ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਬੁਰਾ ਹਾਲ ਹੈ ਬਾਹਰਲੀ ਕੰਟਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੈਠਿਆਂ ਦਾ, ਉਹ ਸਹਿਜੇ ਅੰਦਾਜ਼ਾ ਲਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ। ਜੇਕਰ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ, ਸਰਕਾਰ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਰ ਫਰੰਟ ਤੇ ਫੇਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਦਿਖਾਈ ਦੇ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਦੀ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਠੱਲਣ ਲਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੇ ਹਸਪਤਾਲਾਂ ਦੀ ਘਾਟ ਹੈ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ, ਤੇ ਨਾ ਹੀ ਆਕਸੀਜਨ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਪੂਰਤੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ। ਸੋ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ, ਬਾਹਰਲੀ ਕੰਟਰੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੈਠੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਯਤਨ ਕੀਤਾ।
And that is the coverage there from Indus TV, of course, covering the situation and also talking about Indian government. Well, the function and the event began with the Welcome to Country, and Auntie Betty McGrady from Queensland Multicultural Council did the Welcome to Country.
Deepest honour and respect also to the neighbouring clans of the Yugambeh people south of the Logan River, the Yuggawal people west of Ipswich, and the Turrbal people north of the Pine River.
And she did quite a moving welcome to country. Thank you, Auntie Betty, for being there.
We in Australia are blessed that we have managed to limit the tragic numbers relating to deaths caused by this pandemic. But today, I particularly want to acknowledge the huge burden of sorry business that has visited our sisters and brothers in India. May you find strength in your connection to your...
So the city hall was lit up in Indian colors, even all the lights in the ground on King George Square were in Indian colors, and there was a big Indian flag displayed on the big LED that was there as well. And next up we had the students of Sargam Music Academy, and they did both Australian and Indian national anthem, and their rendition was very, very cute, very, very well done. Once again, it was very good to see the students of Sargam Music Academy with that rendition.
Namaste and good evening all.
The Honorary Counsel for India in Queensland, Mrs. Archana Singh Ji, with her address.
And I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Auntie Betty, thank you so much for your wonderful welcome to country. Respected faith leaders, distinguished guests that have all been acknowledged, all the respected elders that are present here, and friends. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Lord Mayor Adrian Schringer and the Brisbane City Council, all the wonderful community organizations and friends for the show of support for India. And thank you so much for your wonderful donation to the Red Cross. It will be highly appreciated. As we all know, COVID-19 has continued to affect humanity across the globe. Very early on, people all over the world understood and realized that we were in this together, regardless of boundaries or borders. When the first wave of the pandemic took over the world by storm, India extended a helping hand to over 80 countries with the supply of protective gear, medicine, and also vaccines to those that needed it the most at the time. Today, we are gathered here in solidarity with India, where a second wave has swept over the country. The health system has been overwhelmed when you take into account the sheer size of the population in India, almost 1.4 billion. We lament the loss of every life and also feel the pain of those that have lost loved ones and are continuing to feel the pressures and the daily kind of uncertainty that everyone is living with at the moment. However, strong and decisive measures have been put into place, and the situation is being closely monitored to bring relief to people in every way possible. Just as India helped the rest of the world, many countries, including Australia, have extended the same support, which is truly heartwarming. It is only a matter of time, friends, and with help from people all over the world and the diaspora organizations, that India will overcome the situation.
And India will overcome, and of course the entire world right now is fighting this, and we are all in this together. So we'll see how everything outfalls.
Bright and flaming, yet small and astrological. will begin this wonderful autumn evening with many emotions. There is sadness and grief at the loss we feel, so shocking in its aura, so great in its numbers, and so gripping in its connection to each other. This is a time of wanting to be able to reach out, do something to relieve the head of those affected. So this is when we're feeling that we really need to reach out. There is admiration for the heartbreaking courage of men and women caught in the middle of this terror. The courage of the frontline workers and the medical staff who did their duty. And in doing so, many have lost their lives. And not better, or simply acknowledge another's worth. Today, we can newly consider the word love. Not the possession of a single religious belief, not a cheap, no shallow emotion debased by commercialization and popular entertainment, but the most risky, profound, yet fragile glue of our common humanity. Love illuminates the often hidden parts of who we are. It finds way for our parts to connect with the part of others, and it allows us to live not alone but with others, as we're doing tonight, all coming together rather than doing things alone. Even today, that wonderful aim of hoping to do a little can guide us through and beyond the smoke of dangers of today. This also is a time to call again for moral clarity, time for us not to be ashamed of our values, a time to understand even more clearly that we believe and what we believe in, and profoundly to affirm, live and act upon those beliefs and in support of those people. And once again, thank you everyone for being here tonight. And it is wonderful to see so many people coming here tonight in solidarity. And once again, the main thing about tonight is everyone coming together and working together. And once we do that, it is a wonderful feeling to see that, whatever comes, we all are together, and then we work together on that. So ladies and gentlemen, having said those words,
to all of our distinguished community leaders, to my colleagues from Brisbane City Council, Councillor Vicky Howard, Councillor Angela Owen, and also Councillor Charles Strunk, but most importantly to those who GoPio and FICQ for coming together. It is sometimes the case in this wonderful country that we live in that we can take certain things for granted. We have been so fortunate in many ways, and the fact that we can stand here in a group of people in the middle of our city, in the heart of our city, outside City Hall, and we can be safe, is something that we should never take for granted. It's easy sometimes to get frustrated with the little things in life. It's easy to get angry or upset at some of the restrictions that have been placed on us. It's times like today and tonight and what's happening right now in India that put everything in perspective. Because while we have this of Brisbane City has been infected, 1.2 million Brisbane residents here in the council area, and just in a few days the entire population of Brisbane. That puts it into perspective. That is a tragedy of epic proportions. But what's more, we've heard of between 300,000 and 400,000 new cases each and every day in India. And that means in just about 4 days, the entire population of Brisbane City has been infected. 1.2 million Brisbane residents here in the council area. And just in a few days, the entire population of Brisbane. That puts it into perspective. That is a tragedy of epic proportions. But what's more are the more than 215,000 lives that have been cut short.
Observing a minute silence.
Thank you. I will chant the peace invocation. Om Dyau Shantirantariksam Shanti पृथिवी शान्तिरापशान्तिरोषधय शान्तिः वनस्पतयः शान्तिर्विश्वे देवा शान्तिर्ब्रह्म शान्ति सर्वं शान्ति शान्तिरेव शान्ति सा मा शान्तिरेधि ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. May all be happy, may all be free from afflictions and miseries. May I not cause misery to anyone. May we all pray for the welfare of the whole universe, especially for those who are suffering from this pandemic in India and elsewhere. Thank you.
And that is Swami Atmeswarananda ji from Vedanta Center and representing the Hindu community, and we had Ali Qadri from the Islamic Society and Bhai Paramjit Singh ji from Sikh community. So it is good to, we will, once the videos are processed, we will have a separate session for the full event for everyone's viewing. Well, right now it's time to look at what are the functions and events taking place right here in Brisbane. So, we know that now with restrictions easing, lots of functions and events can take place. So let's take a look at which ones are taking place. So they were, ladies and gentlemen, the functions and events taking place right in and around Brisbane. And once again, I'd like to thank everyone who participated in our candlelight vigil event, which we had to put together in less than 72 hours. And we had hundreds of people come in and over $10,000 raised for the disaster relief. It is wonderful that wake of the community together, everyone coming together in a collective manner. Once again, until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. And once again, I'd like to place on record my sincere thanks for everyone who helped make yesterday's candlelight vigil a great success that it was. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. Have a wonderful day, and most importantly, remain safe.